That was beautiful. Thank you. Good morning. I am Caitlin Collins. My pronouns are she and her, and welcome to all of you who found us in the park this morning, and welcome to those at home in our virtual audience. We're glad you found us too. Today is our water communion, and we're so excited you could join us. And if you are new, we are even more excited that you found us, and we would like to get to know you better, so you're welcome to come and talk to pretty much anyone, and there's also a connection card in the online order of service. If you missed the online order of service, there should be a QR code in the back, as well as paper versions if you like. We've got a couple of announcements this morning. The most exciting one is today is the Ice Cream Social. Woo! Hosted by our board. There will be dairy-free ice cream, as well as dairy-full ice cream, and gluten-free as well as gluten-full. So everybody is welcome. There should be something you can have. We also are starting our next Starting Point series soon. That's for new people who are interested in getting to know what UU is all about and what South Valley is all about, as well as those who have been around a while and would like a refresher. If you are interested in that or have questions, please see Sherry afterwards. Sherry, could you, with her big hot pink clipboard. So go see her. She can answer all your questions. And we also have an announcement from Riley this morning.
So we have the RE registration that is starting today. So today's our big kickoff. So I have some forms that just have like contact information and just information about you and your family that I would love to get if you're interested in RE. This is not like a legal form commitment, but it is really helpful so that we can plan for programming and for the activities and the lessons for the children if we have some sort of idea of how many children will be coming and how to contact their parents. So I will be over there, and I'll also be jumping around, but I have a bunch of forms and I have pens. So thank you.
Our last announcement for the morning is next week we will be back in the sanctuary. So next week you're going to meet us at South Valley. You're welcome to come to the park, but we won't be here. So next week's in the sanctuary. We are going to take a couple minutes now to fully arrive and greet each other and share the warmth of community. It's really only going to be like 2 minutes, though, so talk fast.
Hi, everybody. Isn't it great to be here at the water ceremony? Yay! What a beautiful tradition we have of doing this. We're going to sing together. And I have a book, you don't, but you have you have your orders of service, and it has the words, and it's a pretty straightforward tune that has two parts to it. We're going to sing all together. We're going to first listen to it so we get the idea. Then we'll sing it all through together. And then we'll say, hey, if you want to sing the high part or the low part, you choose. And then we'll sing a couple of times that way, okay? Can we hear Maestro? Can we hear the tune? Okay.
Many thanks to our guest musicians today. We are blessed with the presence of Oswaldo Machado, partner of our music director, Lora, who is unfortunately recovering from strep today. And also later we'll hear from our beloved friend and co-conspirator, Tara Briggs, on flute during our offertory. And so I'm so excited to welcome them both to worship with us today. I am the Reverend Lora Young. My pronouns are she and her, and I am a tall, red-haired, light-skinned woman wearing a fantastic dress from South Carolina. It actually, as Krista pointed out, the giraffes are wearing tutus. So that makes it a fun day. And we have a lot of fun things going on this morning, and I'm so happy to be able to welcome you once again to our water communion, our water ceremony, whichever way you want to call it is perfectly fine, but it represents the start of our church year together as a community. For those of you who are not yet familiar or maybe don't actually know the story of water communion, let me tell you a little bit about it. This tradition came to us in 1980 when two Unitarian Universalist women, Carolyn McDade, who has written many of the hymns in our hymnal, and Lucille Shuck Longview were asked to create a worship service for the Women and Religion Continental Convocation of Unitarian Universalists. I'm imagining that must have been a very fun event. I don't think they hold it anymore. As they shaped that service, McDade and Longview wanted to create a new ritual that spoke to our connectedness to one another, to the totality of life, and to our place on this planet. They were also in that period of time when Unitarian Universalism was grappling with gender in a new way. I think it is from that time period that many of our hymnals started to adopt a gender-neutral language in their hymns, and they were very much part of that movement. So they felt that an inclusive symbol of feminine spirituality was the element of water. They wrote that water is more than simply a metaphor. It is elemental and primary, calling forth feelings of awe and reverence, acknowledging that the ocean is considered by many to be the place from which all life on our planet arose. It is the womb of life, and that amniotic waters surround each of us prenatally. We now realize that this water communion was for us a new story of creation, and we chose water as our symbol of our empowerment. So it is from that good and rich ground of being that we add our communion waters this morning. Today we are also going to be adding the element of wind as a metaphor for our water communion. Wind has been understood for millennia as a powerful force that shapes the world and brings about change. On the cusp of autumn, many of us here in this community have already awoken and walked outside in the morning to smell the arrival of the new season and the cooling. Well, hopefully the cooling that will start happening maybe later this week. So I invite you to think about how wind and water combine with one another, the ways in which they have shaped our lives, be we from this valley originally or from other places, that wind is something that everyone can participate in, everyone can experience, and everyone knows as a sacred part of our planet. So I invite you to stand as we light our chalice, and if you would like to stand in body, mind, or spirit as you're willing and able. If you'd like to say our chalice lighting words with us, they're written in your order of service. For those of you who are at home, I invite you to use our chat box and to share with one another, chalice is lit in the name of your street. So, someone want to come turn our candle on for me? Which child wants to run forth first? No volunteers. Okay. Okay, Krista and Paige. Paige will do it this time. She's a little closer. So, no, just this. Since we're at the park, we don't actually light the candle because it blows out. So, we light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of truth, and the energy of action. Please be seated. All right, it's my favorite part of the beginning of the month. Time for our birthday blessing. If you have a birthday in the month of September, Or if you happen to be a summer birthday and you weren't here and you just really want to be acknowledged, I invite you to come forward now and receive our blessing. Okay, so on behalf of the congregation, please receive our blessing. May this coming year open your mind to new possibilities, discoveries, and dreams. May your heart be joyful and free. May your spirit be moved to deeper wisdom. When adventure beckons, may your courage rise. When sorrow arrives, may friends surround you quickly and well. And may your compassion for self and others grow ever more rooted in loving kindness, such that your life proves this essential truth, that with love all things are possible. May this blessing wend its way into your consciousness whenever you need it most. This world is a better place because you are in it. We are so glad you were born. Blessings on your birthday this month.
Don't go too far. I'm going to invite the young and heart and the birthday peeps back up for a story, if you want to come join me here in front of our altar. Do I have any takers? No. Yes. Come sit with me. Good morning. I have something to show you. Does anybody know what that is? What is it? It is a wind chime. Does anybody have these at home? Few people do. I happen to love them. If we want to hear the music on the wind chime, what do we need? Wind. Wind. That was a really easy question, wasn't it? I have a story about the wind for you. Many people have different stories about the wind and where it comes from and who controls it. And this story is from China. And there's a goddess named Feng Po Po, and she's also sometimes called Madam Wind. And she is where the wind comes from. So she rides through the sky on, do you know what she rides on? What do you think she might ride on? A cloud. A cloud, ooh, that's a good guess. Does anybody else have a guess?
Wind.
The wind, that would also be a good guess. It's an, I would want a spaceship. She has an animal. She rides through the sky on a tiger. What were you going to guess? Would you like to ride through the sky on a tiger? Yeah. I mean, if you're a goddess, you might as well ride on a tiger, right? And so Madam Wind rides through the sky on a tiger, and she carries with her a bag. And inside the bag, she keeps the wind. And when she opens it, she lets the wind out. And when she closes it, she keeps the wind inside. And sometimes when she lets the winds out, it's a nice little breeze that moves the wind chimes. And sometimes when she lets the wind out, it's big storm wind. So she also controls a lot of the storms and the rains and the moisture, because all of that is moved on the wind. Now, the story about Feng Po Po tells us some things that aren't said in the story. The one thing I left out is that Feng Po Po is not a young person. She is an older lady. And that tells us that she is wise, because you need to know when to let the wind out and when to keep the wind inside the bag. Now, we said she was riding on a tiger, right? What do you think that tells us about her? What do you think it tells us? That's okay. What would you need to be to ride on a tiger? What do you think? You need to be brave, exactly. It tells us that she's brave and that she has a close connection to the animals as well as to the elements with the wind. The last bit of this story that I really like is I was trying to figure out, when I was learning about Feng Po Po, when she would let the wind out. And there's a few different stories about when she lets it out. And the one of the stories is that When it's a calm day like today and there's not so much wind, that means she's happy and she's having a good day. And when it's stormy wind and it's blowing all over the place, that means she's mad. But another story that I liked was that part of her job and her wisdom is she uses the wind to shape the land. Have you heard of erosion? Oh, good. So erosion is when the land is changed either by wind or by water or by both. And so she uses the wind to shape the land to make it more pleasing and balanced. And the last reason she opens her bag, which is kind of my favorite, is because the bag is too heavy and it's time to let some of the wind out. And I thought that was kind of lovely. I have a game for you. We're going to pretend that Madam Wind opens her bag. Can you make the wind with your hands? And as the bag stays open, the wind blows harder. And what do you think the wind might blow in? Does anybody know? Oh, Chris knows. It's going to blow in some rain. Can you make rain? You can either make it like this or with a little patter on your legs. And the rain, because it's still blowing wind, gets harder and harder and harder. And oh my goodness, I think this might be a thunderstorm. Can you make some lightning and some big thunder? And some more lightning, and some big thunder, and more rain. Oh, but I think the wind might be moving on now. Can you make the rain a little bit less? And a little bit less? And then the wind, and Madam Wind, blows the storm away and closes her bag. All right, my friends, you are welcome to stay with your parents for water communion, or you may go play on the playground. We have some grown-ups over there to watch you play if you wish. Wherever your grown-ups say it's okay to play. Thank you for coming to hear my story. This community and our church and all of its many ministries are only made possible by the gifts you give of your time, your talent, and your treasure. And part of our monthly offering, we split with an organization that aligns with our principles and values. And this month's split partner is Rose Park Neighborhood Center. So the Good Samaritan Foundation, which is not to be confused with South Valley's Samaritan Fund, which is entirely different, offers programs at the Rose Park Neighborhood Center for immigrants and refugees. And these programs include free legal clinics in partnership with No More a Stranger Foundation, assistance with resources and referrals, and grants to help with government filing fees. So that is who we're sharing with this month, and we're happy to partner with them. If you would join me in reading our offertory words there in your order of service. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with the gifts. We will now accept the offering, and because we are in the park where Madam Wind might show up, it's all online today. So the QR code in the back has a giving link, and you are welcome to use that today.
for all we have received and all we have found the courage to give. May we be truly grateful. May these gifts be a blessing to South Valley and the Rose Park Neighborhood Center. I invite you now to join me in a listening and feeling meditation as we enjoy this light breeze that has begun to waft through our valley. I invite you to just close your eyes if you wish, leave them open if you wish. Observe the wind in silence with me for just a moment. Let us be grateful for the wind that brings not just change upon the land, but sustains and fulfills life in all its many forms. Amen. I have a couple of readings with Caitlin this morning.
Our first reading is Flowers by the Sea, and it's by William Carlos Williams. When over the flowery, sharp pasture's edge, unseen, the salt ocean lifts its form, chicory and daisies, tied, released, seem hardly flowers alone, but color and the movement, or the shape, perhaps, of restlessness, whereas the sea is circled and sways peacefully upon its plant-like stem. And our second reading is The Wind's Visit by Emily Dickinson. The wind tapped like a tired man, and like a host, "Come in," I boldly answered. Entered then my residence within a rapid, footless guest, to offer whom a chair were as impossible as hand a sofa to the air. No bone had he to bind him. His speech was like the push of numerous hummingbirds at once from a superior bush. His countenance a billow, his fingers, if he pass, let go a music as of tunes blown tremulous in glass. He visited, still flitting, then like a timid man, again he tapped, 'twas flurriedly, and I became alone.
Let's take some time now to ground ourselves in this moment and in this place. We inhabit a time and a place that is full of much change. And I think it's important, though, to ground ourselves in the actual ground, be there cement beneath our feet right now, into this time, into this valley, the Salt Lake Valley. In this place, we know the impact of the elements on our bodies and on the land. Each of the elements, each in their turn, affects us, bringing about seasons of change, perhaps a dry nose, perhaps a little bit of pollution here and there, or maybe a lot in our case sometimes. But our land here has been shaped and carved over the millennia with the elements of water and wind by the recession of glaciers, the rise and the fall of floodwaters, the shape and sound of snowfall, and its melting into our rivers and streams, the movement of all this water towards our great saline lake. The wind here brings our weather to us from far in the east and also moves the land, drying it in some places and leaving it verdant, loamy, and rich in other areas, it offers itself to the many creatures and birds that migrate here for sustenance every year. We also know this place to be a land of desert. The sun and heat here teach us to be mindful of the preciousness of water. We are subject to drought and the lessons of scarcity here as much as we are to flooding and to plenty. And our air, held at times in place by the shape of this valley, formerly a lake so large it boggles the mind, is a reminder of our place in the world and the impact of human activity in and upon it. This has always been a challenging landscape. For 10,000 years, there have been human communities living in this place. And now the land is facing some of its greatest perils, a rapid expansion of human demand that without major changes to the human understanding and the use of resources will cause irreparable damage to the land. And the cost will be a catastrophic loss of life, not just for those of us in the valley, but across the Western United States. We know that our advocacy is critical and necessary in this place, because this is our place, and it is up to us to turn from disbelief and worry to advocacy and productive action. Our religious community, South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society, founded now 41 years ago in a friendly spin-off from the bigger church. Well, I don't know if they're bigger. We're brighter. We're the same bright. From our sister congregation downtown, this community has witnessed many, many changes in this valley. What used to be the southern end of the valley, hence our name, South Valley, is now central. Our community reaches people seeking connection to a community such as ours that is open and affirming, justice-oriented, and joyful all throughout the state of Utah, through our online offerings, as well as for those that travel to be with us from all along the corridor, from here to Provo and beyond. And we are thriving in the midst of all this fluctuation and change. Despite the changing demographics of Salt Lake Valley, this community continues to be in abundance. We have earned our reputation, I think, as ones who show up for justice work, who proclaim an ever more inclusive community and celebrate the diversity of all folks. And we do our best to remain mindful and to pay attention to the circles around us, to be intentionally expansion and invitational, so that we may do the next steps and the next actions that support the beloved community. South Valley is our place. Our care and attention make it beloved, sacred, and worthy. The question before us, or at least to me, that I offer to you this morning as we begin this new church season is this: what to do with all of this abundance? What to do with all of this abundance in a dry land desert? As the old ways of doing and being give way to new and not yet clear pathways forward, what shall we do? What does it mean to be in and on, even of, this place right now? As we attempt to lay aside our old stories of scarcity and worry, there's a gap between now and before the new stories take root. Those of us who have been through lean times may worry that the celebrating of joyful abundance will mean that we take our eyes off the basics. But I would offer to you that that is not actually what the path of joy requires of us. The path of joy is one of deeper maturity, an opening of the heart that is capable of holding the real challenges around us while also letting go of fear. I invite you to be in that gap with me this morning. Because this place, our place, needs our joyful attention and can teach us the ways of abundance in the midst of scarcity. It seems to me that this community, this population of peoples that is ever changing as congregations do, has been seeking now for a long time to awaken to a deeper sense of place. To ask that question, what does it mean to be in and of a place? And what does the actual land require of us now? For some of us in this community, our ancestors came from faraway places and endured much hardship to arrive and sustain themselves in this valley. Others of us have been here the whole time and have had to respond and endure the arrival of colonial powers and the heartbreaking reality of life under an oppressive regime that seeks to extract rather than enrich the land known as home for millennia. Together, we are intricately combined and dependent within the system that is upon this land. And it will require much of us to move forward and find new ways and new stories of being in community with one another. To those who have already been here a while, we now add people who are arriving in great numbers to our community. And just as the pioneers came seeking a better life, so do now our newest arrivals. We have among us not just economic refugees from California, but also many climate and political refugees here. I heard that. I'm from California, proudly so. You brought me here, though. I'll remind you of that. As the weather shifts and changes, politics can get untenable. And those that can move do. Those that can migrate do. And it causes friction. Yes? It causes friction. That was what we just heard, right? When I mentioned California. Like, friction. Migration in times of major political, economic, and climate shifts are predictable and inevitable. We have the right as creatures on this planet to seek better outcomes for our lives and those of our children and loved ones. And these massive movements of people are putting our democratic systems under tremendous pressure all across the globe. I will ground us in the knowledge and the knowing that this is not a new problem for humanity. Our sacred texts from around the world are quite clear on how we are to respond to the strangers within our midst. And these texts are rooted as much as we are in economic, political, and environmental stress. They are rooted in their time and place with the traumas and stresses of their time, and we are aware of those stresses and traumas in our time. And the wisdom gathered in those texts was earned by those people themselves through hardship, loss, grief, trauma, as well as shaped by their commitment to follow a brighter call of humanity. A commitment to ensure that humanity is known not for its friction, but for its willingness to go beyond the friction and to root in kindness, cooperation, collaboration, and a sharing of resources. Now, let me be clear, this is not a call to some sort of placid unity. That never works, and I would never ask that of you. What I call you to is the deeper work of figuring out how to be on this land together. Because this place and this time is complex and nuanced, just like every time and every place has always been. This place that has seen so much damage due to colonial warfare and genocide, religious and social control, this place that in and of itself can be inhospitable to human thriving. How do we make of this place a home? How do we move from those who use the land to those that heal, enrich, and love the land? And what about letting the land love you back? What about letting the land love you back? What are the qualities of heart and mind that will support this landing and arrival to place? I suspect that that is at the heart of the message that our Indigenous friends and neighbors here have long called us to do, to shed the perspectives of the utility of the land and to be in it and of it as worshipers of the land instead of extractors of the land. Again, there is that gap from where we are to where we seek to be, and that is the place that we are situated in. I suggest that part of what takes us from here to there, to that dream of being worshipers embedded in the land, to finally call home, that it begins with truth-telling. For when we begin telling the truth of our lives and of our family, we can make space for new possibilities to emerge and new stories to rise up. I've shared with you in the past that my ancestral lines come from working and farming class peoples on my maternal side and educated landowning elites on my paternal side. And some of those elites engage in the practice of enslaving others. I assume that those patterns continued all the way back up and across the family lines, all the way back to whatever villages my ancestors were once indigenous to in Northern Europe. My family was separated from their land perhaps 500 to 1,000 years ago. For me, this means that there is no going back. There is no easy extraction from the colonial system by claiming something that was long ago destroyed. That is both the good news and the harsh reality. My identity has been thoroughly colonized for the better part of a millennia. So the question is, how do I move? How do we move forward knowing and holding that truth, those truths? How do we embrace the difficult and terrible facts of our ancestral lines and live upon this land without a collapsing of the self? For to collapse the self, to say a mea culpa for the rest of my life, does no one and no land any good. What is called for is a deeper, richer, more robust and resilient response that is capable of holding all of the truths and moving forward in conjunction, collaboration, and cooperation with the others that also seek to call this place a home. I believe that this is the greatest question of our time, right? So if we seek to end this colonial empire, late stage capitalism system that we all sort of know we are under, it's not going to go away just easily on its own, right? It's going to put up a little bit of a fight. But it's a worthy endeavor that we can undertake together, and one that we must. Else this system will result in our planet becoming unlivable. So it is essential that we work to create a better set of stories upon which to rest our work going forward. Now, I know it's probably a little audacious to say, yep, South Valley is the place that can get this to happen, but why not be audacious? Why not be bold? Why not just say, we will fake it till we make it, but really we know what we're doing the whole time, which is we are investing in human capacity to be a greater vessel of light and of joy and of restoration rather than one of catastrophic decline. I would say I think it's actually a little bit awesome. And if you believe that it could also be awesome as well as audacious, I encourage you to just sort of slightly raise your hand. Okay, very good. I'm glad I'm not alone. I think that we do have this opportunity because we have long been a community of seekers, and that this place over the last 40 years has been the kind of place that seeks to do the work and does the work it is called to do. We have much work before us in the next decade to come, and I ground you in this time and in this place as that place of sure knowledge of a deeper commitment that just like the wind and the water that has shaped this valley, our hearts, our advocacy, our kick-assness can do what it needs to do to shape this place to a place that humans may thrive for generations to come. So, I'm going to let you rest for a moment, and then we're going to partake of our water communion. So I invite you just to rest. Rest is just as important as the work. Bring your deep intention to this place, both a desert and a mountainscape, shaped over millennia by wind, water, and sun. Perhaps consider in this moment how the land around you, under your feet, before your eyes, behind me, the air filling your lungs, the breeze, and the sounds of children's voices alerting your ears, the breeze touching your skin, how these things are shaping you. And then extend that to your internal landscape. Notice what is shaping, calling, molding, and renewing itself within you through your breath, your voice, your hands, your life, your imagination. Blessed be, and amen. I'm going to invite Caitlin to come forward and assist me with our water communion. So let us show you our communion table. So we have our two bowls on the table. The blue flower bowl is where we will pour the blessing water that I give to you. The clear bowl is where you will pour the water that you have brought. If you did not bring water, that is okay. We have a bottle here that you can use to add water to the bowl. Do not be afraid. It's okay if you forgot your water. I forgot my water this morning. I'm so sorry, Maria, because we collected it in British Columbia. So we're going to be adding our water. Your water goes in the clear bowl. So please, you will have come up and you will put your water in this bowl, and then you'll kind of step to the side. And if you would like your hands blessed with water, you can put your hands out, and I will put a blessing. I will be wearing my mask because I'm getting over a cold. So you'll have to imagine the words I'm saying to you. I'll be blessing you with my eyes today, COVID style. Also on our table, we have our wind chime that was used in our children's story to represent the ways that wind moves through our valley. We have rocks, because rocks are what creates our streams and our river beds, and the rocks cleanse and purify the water. We have baby paper cranes, which we will invite you to take at the close of worship We have a whole bunch here. We just don't want to hand them out when you get your hands wet because that seems kind of odd. And we also have this branch, which is from the tree outside of South Valley, to represent our community at South Valley. And at the close of worship today, I will take some of the water that you brought today and put it as an offering to our tree in front of our property. And then the last thing we have is some weeds, picked today from the park by Brenda, to represent just the reality that wind does many things, including propagate seeds, and that the wind brings change, and it also brings flowers and plants, and that it is a major way, it is actually the foundation of the water cycle. For without the wind, there would be no rain, there would be no storms, there would be no evaporation. So I invite you, as the music begins, to come forward to add your water that you brought, or to borrow ours to add, and just a little bit is fine. Please, we don't need like a gallon, just a little bit to add. And then come to this side for a blessing of the hands. This water is made sacred by our collection, be it from the tap this morning or from some journey over the summer. These waters will now be combined into a single source, reminding us of the reality that the water that we drink and consume today has been with us for thousands and thousands and millions of years. And just as the water that is in here, well, this is new water, but when I arrived to South Valley, these 2 bottles were full of water from previous year's water communions. And so our ritual today connects us to all the water communions that happened before today and all those that are being performed across Unitarian Universalist congregations at this time of the year. These waters, again, will be added to the base of our tree at South Valley, and some of it will be preserved, boiled, and used for children's blessings and other rituals throughout our year to come. I offer you this poem in closing by Polish poet Zbigniew Maciej. It's called Orchards in July. Waters from cold springs and glittering minerals tirelessly wander. Patient, unceasing, they overcome granite, layers of hungry gravel, iridescent precincts of clay. If they abandon themselves to go to the black roots, it is only to go up as high as possible through wells hidden under the bark of fruit trees, through the green touched with gray of leaves, fallen petals of white, flowers with rosy edges, and apples heavy with sweet redness and their bitterish seeds. Waters from cool springs and glittering minerals, you are awaited by a cirrus with a fluid, sunny outline, and by an abyss of blue which has been rinsed in the just wind. This water is sacred. Our bodies are sacred, and this land is sacred. We are connected to those that came before us and those that will follow in this moment. And so it is, and so are we. Blessed be the whole of creation. May it be so, and I invite you to respond with, and so it is. May it be so, and so it is. Amen. Let's sing ourselves out of worship this morning. It's number 203, Creatures of the Earth and Sky. It's kind of zippy if you want it to be. I encourage you to stand for this one. There is quite a few alleluias, so if you don't know the word, just say alleluia on cue. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. And they are in your order of service, both the printed and the online version as well. Remain standing for the benediction as we extinguish our chalice. I invite you to say our chalice extinguishing words as they're written in your order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of action, the flames of resistance, hold each other in our hearts until we meet again. And so as you go forth from this time and this place, I invite you to notice the elements that are around you. Notice the changing of the season that is yet upon us. Look for the changing of the leaves, the scent of the wind, and be joyful and glad in it, for this is the day that we have been given. Please be seated for the postlude.